Hi, and welcome to another episode of The Flavorful Gourmet. In today's episode, we are going to make green seasoning and mackerel fish. Green seasoning is a multi-purpose seasoning and you can use it on just about everything. So, let's get started. I have a couple of just basic ingredients that you can pretty much pick up at your grocery store, or you may already have them in your fridge. So I have one green onion and by the way, all of my vegetables here have been washed and cleaned. You want to just rinse everything really well because debris and sediment can kind of get into the vegetables in the growing process. So I have one green onion. I have a quarter of a green bell pepper, one small shallot, and I have some culantro here. Culantro is a wonderful herb, and it's usually used in a lot of Caribbean cooking. Get all of that into the blender. I'm going to tear it in half, make it go in a little easier. And I'm going to add a little olive oil. Okay. Now I'm going to add my lid and go ahead and let that blend a little bit so I can make space for the next set of herbs that I'm going to add. Okay, so I have one bunch of curly parsley and one bunch of cilantro. Kind of just shoving all of that in my blender. Gonna add a little bit more olive oil. One thing I did forget was my habanero pepper. I want to add just a little bit of kick to my green seasoning, so I'm just going to grab a habanero pepper. These are frozen. I tend to just keep a bunch on hand and put them in the freezer. They've already kind of been washed, so I'm just going to chop the top off of that and take out just a little bit of the seed. And I'm going to add some of my dry seasoning here. I'm going to put about 3 teaspoons of chicken bouillon. And I'm going to add just one of some garlic powder. And let this blend. I need a little bit more liquid, so I'm just going to add a little bit more olive oil. Okay, everything's not going down, so in this case I'm just going to give it a little bit of help by pushing some of the herbs down into the blender. Okay, great. Looks pretty well blended to me. So just let you all see that. That's our green seasoning. Just going to take a couple tablespoons of that. So I kind of did about 3 heaping spoonfuls there. Don't have to be exact, it's just whatever works for you. I'm gonna add a little bit more olive oil. And here, now what I'm doing is adding my extra spices that I want to go into my fish. Normally I would use green seasoning as the base for my fish, but sometimes I like to mix the flavors up. So today I'm going for a little bit more of a Caribbean flair seasoning to my fish. So hence I use the culantro in my green seasoning, and I'm also going to add some jerk spices. So I'm going to get my half a teaspoon here because this one's clean. And I'm just using some mild jerk seasoning. I also have smoked paprika, some white pepper, and some roasted garlic and herb seasoning. So I'm going to take about a capful of that roasted garlic herb seasoning, dump that right in. This is about a 1/4 teaspoon here. So just 1/4 teaspoon of the smoked paprika, a dash of the white pepper, and I'm going to do 3 heaping teaspoons of the jerk seasoning. Mix all of this in together. And then you just want to give it a little taste. So I'm going to take the spatula, put just a little on my hand. Taste it. It's very sharp and salty with just a little bit of spice, and that's fine. I'm gonna rinse my hands. So I like my seasoning as is. It's very sharp. It has a lot of flavor and just enough pepper, but not too much. So there's my green seasoning mixed with my other spices for my fish. And here I have mackerel, and we're going to season the mackerel. So I'm just going to take my teaspoon I had there before. Now a brush works well for this process, or you can get your fingers in there if your hands work better. Since I just rinsed my hands, I'm going to use my hands. I'm going to turn that so you all can see the fish really well. You can do this on tilapia, mackerel, red snapper. I like just so many different varieties of fish, but today we're doing mackerel. So you just want to put that inside. Like I said, I'm using my hands. Going to spread the seasoning around to really coat the fish. And here the fish has already been cleaned and scored, so that helps to get the seasoning in there better too. Just rubbing the seasoning all along the fish. I'm going to repeat that with all 3 fish here. I'm just going to flip all of the fish over so I can coat the other side. Now it looks like I have a bit of seasoning left, and I don't like for anything to go to waste, so I'm just going to put a little bit more on the inside of each fish before I rub the outside. One of the reasons I also like to do this on mackerel. Mackerel's fairly easy to clean because they don't have a lot of scales. Okay, now let's put the rest on the outside. Make sure, you just want to do this and make sure your fish is very well covered in your seasoning. And if you feel intimidated and don't want to clean fish yourself, many local fish markets will do that for you. You just have to tell them that you want your fish cleaned. It may cost you a little extra, but again, if you feel intimidated and don't want to do it, they will happily clean it for you. So, okay, I'm gonna wash my hands and get our fish into the oven. So now we're just gonna bake this in the oven at 400 degrees for about 30 minutes. My remaining green seasoning, I'm just going to transfer it to a storage container. Here I just have a glass jar. I'm gonna just transfer that here for storage. Nope, I use that on the fish, so have to get a clean spoon. Okay. This will keep in your fridge for up to about 2 weeks. Green seasoning is wonderful for chicken, other meats. Okay, so that worked out perfect. So a little bit goes a long way. If you can see, that pretty much just about filled up this jar. And I believe this jar is probably maybe a little less than 16 ounces. So it's probably somewhere between 14 to 16 ounce glass jar. Very inexpensive to make. Each bunch of herb maybe cost about $1. And there you go. So a seasoning that will last for up to 2 weeks can be used on your fish, various types of meats, when you roast vegetables, things like that. I have another video on green seasoning as well. If you like the ingredients here, feel free to use this one. If you want to try a different variation, check out my other YouTube video titled Green Seasoning. The timer has stopped, so let's check our fish. There we have it, roasted mackerel. You can enjoy your roasted mackerel with rice, fried plantains, by itself with some sauteed vegetables, or salad. Mackerel is high in omega-3s, so if you like salmon, maybe this will also be a nice way to mix it up or have a good alternative. I hope you enjoyed this video and cooking with the Flavorful Gourmet. See you next time, and don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and check out my website, theflavorfulgourmet.com.